Hey, I'm Rebecca Jolly, the Jolly Alchemist, and still coming down from the MeWe Festival, which was awesome. It was so cool. Yes, it's getting better and better. The less I'm actually concerned about doing the MeWe Fair. If I go to the fair with a booth, but be me and don't care about the booth at all, then everything works lovely. I get clients, I get money, I get friends. It's so cool. But if I go to a MeWe fair thinking, oh, I'd like to make some money, then I just sit there and I'm super miserable. So now that I figured that out, MeWe fairs become for me this really nice playtime where I get to be weird, I get to be me, I get to do lovely trades with people and learn a lot of good lessons about who's for me and who's not for me. Because it turns out there's a difference. There's people who are for me and people who are definitely not for me. And I have historically had a difficult time telling the difference because when people smile and act nice, I think they're nice people. And it turns out that is not the deciding factor of nice people or not. So I'm starting to get wise about that. I come back and I say, that guy wasn't for me. And Sarah goes, I could have told you that. And I'm like, but I gotta know for myself, and you didn't tell me that, so there I am out learning. But it's very interesting. I had some really awesome readings, especially one from a palm reader in Washington. Oh my dog, that was so amazing. Ah, so that was great. She gave me a lot of perspective on the things that I already knew about myself, but didn't know like how to look at or how to approach. Because she said that I'm supposed to be like creative and sharing and, bubbly and me. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. That's cool. But she said, no, every day you need to be sharing. Oh, and the super big insight that she gave was that I have full 8 of these arches that are supposed to be about peace. And it goes with um, we had a practitioner from Seattle staying with us here in Portland during the fair, and she and I bonded right off. It was so cool because I'd had a graphology reading from her in Olympia. That's where we met and hit it off. And I said, well, if you're coming to Portland, come stay with us. She did, and we got more chances to talk and eat Haitian food, and it was cool. But she came downstairs the last day, Sunday, and she said, it's just occurring to me now what our previous relationship is, or one of our, the time gets weird when you get in between lives, right? I think we pretty much know that. So when somebody says in your past life, they don't necessarily mean like a linear thing. I think what's meant more is that it's a life that the impact of that life is stronger on this life. So they're like more related when you're looking at it in a crystal consciousness kind of way, like that the fractal of that life is not very far removed from the fractal of this life. Anyway, she said we were friends, we were warriors, and she told some stories about herself and how that's affected her life this time. And I thought, oh, okay, yeah, cool, whatever. I'm sure I was a warrior in a previous life. But then when I got to the palm reader, and she said, I have lived too many lives of servitude to others and just giving and giving and giving long before or long after the time that I should have been done with that. And so then she says, what happens in this life is I had promised myself, like, you can have this gift, but only if you promise, kind of a thing. if I promise to be peaceful. And so these 8 fingers are all about peace. And she says, usually somebody might have 2 or 3 if peace is an issue for them in their life, but you have 8. And it really brought some things into focus for me, because when I do my power-ups and things get a little off the rails, in looking back over those times, I realize that part of what's going off the rails in that is that I am losing focus of peace and trying to become this warrior again. So I'm meant to be a revolutionary. That's not a problem. It's okay to be a revolutionary, but not the fighting kind. So it's no longer okay for me to fight for revolution. No, not my job. My job is to really, really be doing the peaceful revolution. And to do the peaceful revolution, I have to be peaceful. So I've got to find all the peace in me first. And I thought, now, okay, that is really fucking cool. And of course, when I'm okay and when I'm, high, I'm in a good mood, everything's going nicely, then I'm totally about that. I mean, I'm a little bit impish, a little bit, I don't mind laughing or being a little bit of a trickster, or a little gray area, a little dumpster diving, a little trespassing when somebody has snatched for themselves something like hot water and they're trying to keep it from people, or the gray area I'm okay with. But being a peaceful warrior is absolutely the wrong direction for me. And just they confirmed that, and I was like, okay. So I was trying to think of what could be my personal mantra about that to help me remember, because it's kind of always like, oh, y'all want to have a fight? I'm up there. Let's do that. Let's have a fight. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's not my job. I'm supposed to be nice. I have the power to fight, and you don't want to see me fighting. That's uncool. The police do not like me in that way. They already know. They're like, oh God. Oh God. So next time I'll just make a press conference and I'll just tell the police, hey, it's okay. Peaceful revolution. I'll do that, right? Y'all have a taste of what it's like when the revolution is not being peaceful. So let's all agree not to have that anymore. Let's everybody keep Rebecca peaceful. Then everybody will be happy. Kind of a thing, right? And so that was really, really awesome. And I was able to just float around like this beautiful butterfly and have great experiences and talk to all exactly the right people and show up exactly in the right place that I was supposed to be, exactly the right time, to have all the good jokes done. And it was perfect. So it was really, really lovely. And of course, I gave my partner the video that had the wrap for the first day of the fair recording, that thing that ended up being 2 hours. And when I looked back, I was like, shit, what did I say for 2 hours? But while I don't know what I said for 2 hours, I do know that it was fun, it was awesome in the time, and again, it's for me. So if y'all want to listen to it and get something out of it, cool, righteous. And if you don't, that's also cool, righteous too, just like this one. But it's definitely, I think, good for me to have a record of me. And that was another interesting piece of the thing that came out, because I just started a sort of a support group between my daughters and mentees. And they're, like cross-pollinating now, and we were all sharing pictures of our babies. One woman's got a couple of cats, one woman's got bunnies, one woman's got plants, and they're all showing pictures of all their babies. And I was just like, I ain't got no babies, none, 0. And so I was like, well, there's me, I'm my baby. Because yeah, it turns out that whole thing with having kids and nurturing and being the best mom and everything, that, by the way, burned me the fuck out and made me really have to pull back and reevaluate my life. Turns out I just realized that was an exercise in having an open willpower center. And I just this weekend made the connection there, that whole experience that I went through, I was not the victim. I fucking asked for it. And I was like, ah, shit. Oh, and it happened when I was like 14 or 15. Because I had scoliosis. It's a lateral curvature of the spine, an S curve. It was pretty extreme. And they decided to ameliorate it with putting me in a brace for 4 years, a very tight, restrictive body brace. So it went from here down to the bottom of my hips, and it changed my shape just as I was coming into boobs and hips, and clothes were horrible, and school was horrible, and it was this whole huge thing for me. So, well, one of the things that happened is they told me, you'll never have a child. And looking back on that now, I see, my open willpower center, ding, took that as a challenge. Oh, you think not? Well, I tell you what, then I'll have two. And I got what I deserved on that one. I mean, of course, I don't regret having children, but looking back on it, I realized that the price that I paid and the way that I did that, it was just really, really heavy for me, and I was not actually built for that. So that was very, very difficult for me. And prices were paid by my children as well. But, I mean, they're okay, they're doing good, and I love them, and they're happy people off doing wonderful things in the world, and good for you. But it was the realization that that didn't happen to me, at least not entirely, because of, my upbringing, brainwashing, cult kind of stuff. I had my own piece in that. So that was interesting to see. But the time for that is over. I need to be me. She said, if you're not feeling like you're the brightest star in the universe, then something is wrong. And I was like, I can get behind that. So I ended up to this group posting a picture of myself and being like, here's my baby, it's me. So still continuing to do all the work, and I definitely got verification of all the issues that I'm facing in my life, like control issues and, the issues with different weights of different kinds. Like I remember I mentioned in the first wrap video that my physical weight is an issue I'm looking at, and that I understand is connected to my belongings being overweight, and, different like emotionally dependent relationships. There are some people who are energetically being too heavy of a weight for me. They need to be sloughed. And so it was just really just like helping to put that into a spot for me where I could recognize, okay, this is how I need to do it. She said, I cannot be living for the future. I have to be living for the now, and really taking that leap of faith that the universe will support me in the now. And I have all kinds of support in terms of signs from the universe that that's the way this is, but I'm not actually fully trusting it. Like being able to, for example, possibly just walk out the house. Just walk out the house in my clothes. No food, no water, no rain gear, no boots, no protection. Just whatever. And go and do the thing of me out there and let the world support me. So I don't know exactly when that's going to begin. This week I am due to face and hopefully start the process, at least, of quashing some of the legal issues that have kept me bound here for a while. And then I will have to see about getting away, getting out, going into nature. And the effect that that's going to have on the channel is I may be posting less. I don't know what I'm going to be fucking doing. But it also gave me the key, because here I am. Y'all know that I've been struggling for a while with how to make the channel work for me and not just being about like trying to make a bunch of content or trying to get followers. Of course, getting followers has never been really my goal or my plan. It's been more, if I wanted followers, it was so that there were more people watching the videos and saving me from having to explain some basic shit that I am getting tired of explaining, and that is true. But other than that, I don't care about the following. I'm not doing this channel to make money. I'm doing this channel to reach people and hopefully get the important information out so that people can have the basics of what's going on with this. And then if they've seen enough in me teaching the basics that they want to know more, cool. Come on, let's play. But I gotta say, I am also discovering that in giving readings now, something has clicked, something has shifted, and I'm much more able to tell the story of a human rather than it being about, okay, well, you have a such and such gate activation, and that means you have this, and it's going to be this on the other side of the channel, and it's going to connect to the circuitry like this, and da-da-da. That's not the cool way. That's so dry and real kind of boring like, and that's kind of what makes the transits boring like, to the extent that they are boring like. I mean, I suppose they're not boring for someone who really wants to learn design. And actually, these videos are intended for people who really want to learn design and don't want to learn it the way I did it. It was interesting. I had this situation this weekend where somebody said to me, "Oh, who'd you study with? How'd you learn design?" And I said, "Oh, well, I'm a wild talent. I didn't actually study and be certified underneath a person." And she said, "How did you do that?" And I said, "Well, I watched hundreds of hours of raw speaking or listening." And she went, "I tried to do that, but I couldn't do that. How did you do that?" And I said, "Well, manifesting generator." And she was like, "Oh." There, right there's the power of a manifesting generator. They have that desire, and the underlying energy to plug through that and force when they find something that they are truly interested in. And I have to admit, I have not listened to every single thing Ra ever said. I would love to listen to more of Ra speaking, but after having listened to hundreds of hours, probably, I don't know, I don't know exactly how many hundreds, multiple hundreds. I've gotten to the point where I'm just full. I just can't take any more from him. He's a good speaker. He's fine. He's charismatic. But after you've listened to him so much, the verbal, it's not like tics, but his verbal mannerisms, I guess is a way to say it. I just can't handle it anymore. I just can't take it. At least I have to take some kind of a break. I'm full. He'll say, "The important thing to know is," and he'll say 2 minutes later, "Well, the important thing to know is," well, the important thing to know is, listen to that about 17,000 times. And then you're just like, they're all important things to know. And there's a lot of repetition. So then that got difficult to listen to, because I was really wanting to get to the gems of things that I had not heard before. And this is a dynamic that I also discovered in watching Tom Campbell's videos. He does MBT, My Big Toe, which is really cool. It's awesome. And it's basically explaining quantum physics to regular people with a specific focus on helping left brain people handle what is actually a right brain kind of concept. The woo-ness of it, the weirdness, the meditation, point consciousness, leading to abilities like remote viewing, remote healing, going out of body, contacting guides, all that weird shit. So what I discovered when we were doing that is we watched many hours, not hundreds of hours, but many hours of those beginner videos. He's given so many beginner videos. In fact, most of what he's got is beginner videos because most everybody is beginners. Okay, that makes sense. But once you've watched the beginner videos and you're ready for a little bit more, then you have kind of a problem because everything is beginner videos and you're like, dude, yeah, I heard that story. Give me a little new piece. Give me a little new piece. And those are difficult to find until he got his gatherers, his followers together and put together a whole system with some volunteers in this case. And everybody who loved Tom Campbell came together and listened to all of his talks and went through his whole entire system and time-stamped everything with, okay, here's where he's talking about this, and this. So now you can go in and search on his website for, I want to hear him talk about everything he ever said about remote viewing. And then bring up the whole list. You can go down. You can hear every single thing he ever said about remote healing. That is what Jovian Archive needs to get off their happy asses and do for the world. Just saying. Instead of taking what they have, which is crappy, all kinds of different things. There's no subtitles. There's no help for when he's making mistakes. There's no translations. There's no references. There's no there's nothing. It's just as it came off of the reels. And they're just chunking out, you pay us money every single time a recording of that shit goes out. Pay us money. And it's not a little money either. It's a lot of money. It's all they can get. And I just think that greedy bullshit is so annoying on a type of information that it came to the whole world. Yeah, it came through Raw, but does that mean he can have these people have stranglehold on information that is for the whole world? Give over, man. I totally see how we need specialists. We need people who are trained to go deeper and know the things and help other people with the translations of that. That's cool. That's my job. But in order to get that information, pretty much you have to become me or like me, and that's bullshit, because we have a lot more people who are needing to do a lot more things in the world than Humun Design. Humun Design is not that great of a system. I mean, it's a great system, don't get me wrong, but it's not so great that that we should stop the world and teach it exactly as Ra taught it, because it's also needing to grow up, which is why I'm on 64 Keys, because I like the way these people are helping Humun Design to grow into something bigger and better than it was before. So that's my personal soapbox on that. And while we're here, my all my shit that I would usually show you the details on for doing a transit is AWOL. Oh yes, swinging back around real quick. I realized from all this that what I need to do with my transits, and the thing that's going to make me happy, is to release my my idea that every single transit needs to be recorded. That is turning out to be the problem for me. What I really need to do, I realize, is record a transit and or record my experiences with the time that's passing, and like look at the transit, by the way, which, ooh, that's actually a really good idea. Let me start to include in my recordings, no matter where they are, the transit for now, so that you can see where I am time-stamped from the position I'm speaking of, and then from there talking about the actual stamp of of what's going on as far as being able to tell the future and what's going on in the energy today or a few days or a week or however the fuck much ahead. I think that's really, really important. So I'm going to pull up my version and get a timestamp right now on a transit and talk about that and look about what I have for what I've done as far as research getting into this new time. And so let me pull down my camera here and switch it for a sec. Okay, so this is the transit right now, 7:50. Okay, well, that's what time it is. So since we're here, let's look at this a little bit. Oh shit, we've already moved up to 3. So I will, in fact, let me switch back over here and give you the details on my journal for coming into line 1. 2 and 3. So this is the 3rd day where we are right now. Oh, except that no, it's up here because, oh yeah, this is one of those crimps. So I squashed these 2 days and did line 2 and line 3 on this day. So we are actually here on Tuesday's energy. I was wondering why that was. There. And then this one to get to the end of hexagram. Okay, so now we can come over here and talk about this. So I had not done this report, which I had really wanted to get out and published by Sunday at the latest, but I kept trying to sit and do it, and I kept getting a sacral no, and I was like, well, okay. At some point, I was like, fuck this. And really, at some point, I know there's not that many people watching it anyway, so the amount of disappointment, it's not like I have thousands of followers who are going to be going, oh, she's letting us down, shit like that. Yeah, I can't be living my life for that. I have to live my life for me and hopefully try to make videos to let other people come along, but not be super uptight about trying to be impressive or to prove my worth to other people. You see up here? That's not my job. I have an open willpower center. It's not my job to prove my worth or my worthiness. So I'm not going to do it, people. You get what you get out of me. Go do your own homework, and you can get like support from me on your journey. If your journey is similar to mine, here's what I do when I pull out the transit to look at a day. So we're seeing here, usually I'll do my transits, I'll record the transit at 1 minute into the day. And because this is a now transit, we're seeing, okay, it's starting here. And if I talk about, oh, I'd have to talk quite a bit to get to 43. Oh no, actually, it's a shift that's going to be happening here in another 10 minutes or so. Hey, 15. So this is saying that in 15 minutes or so, we're going to be having a shift, a moon shift from 1.5 to 1.6. So just a sec. What a cool idea, huh? Let's do this. Let's talk through the lunar shift. Oh, let's see if I can feel something. Oh, this is an awesome idea. Okay, so let's talk about this right now. This is an interesting transit to look at. So we look at 1.5. Sorry, I'm looking at behind the camera. I have to look through the camera in order to get this done right. The power of attraction, power to stay with the creative process, attraction that results from the power of the ego to stay with and endure the creative process, and the shadow, eccentric behavior which, though attractive, will limit the drive. So, yeah. Attraction that results from the power of the ego to stay with and endure the creative process. Okay, so this is relevant because I've just been talking about how these teachers I was with told me I have to do the creative things and share myself every day. So look at what I'm able to share right now. I'm able to share my sense of self-worth. And I oh, golly, wow, words. I am able to actually share the sense of my worth through being myself right now. Maybe that's because I have some of this support on the 26 here. But, to tell you the truth, I'm not exactly positive about this 44th gate activation. It may be, but what the deal is, that 44, if that's what I have, it's 44.6. So we come over here to the moon, which is such an important activation. And I can't really figure out in myself if it's supposed to be 44.6 or being in the sixth line, if it's supposed to be over in the next yard, which let's pull this up and look at it. I mean, I know what it is, but let's let everybody else see it at the same time so it can be a little learning experience here. So now I'm scoping. There we go. There's 44. Because the numbers around here, they don't really make sense. They make sense in terms of the hexagrams and the structure of the hexagram. You can see sort of a logical progression in how the structure of the hexagrams goes. But the actual Roman numerals of the hexagrams, that's weird. So I haven't memorized that at all. And I still have to look around for which one is which. So here I am, 44. Ostensibly 44.6. But you have to remember, I do not know my exact birth time. So all these things that have to do with specifics like the moon are things that I'm having to work out the hard way. So it could be 44.6 or it could be 1.1. And what makes that confusing when you get into that little area is that, let me get the cheat sheet here. I'll show you that. Okay, this is an old cheat sheet, but the thing is good enough and it works. So I've got some little amendments I was going to make to it, but don't worry about that. That's not the important part. The important part is looking at the overall structure of the hexagram, and you can see that the sixth line being, they're not really a part of the hexagram anymore. The actual top of the hexagram, functionally speaking, is the fifth line. And then when you get to the sixth line, what they're embodying it, but they're not thinking about it. They're not looking at it. What they're doing is looking into the next hexagram. So any time where we have a sixth line activation on something, what you really have to do is look at what is over the fence, what's on the next side of the hexagram. And that's what we're doing right here when we look at me and whether I'm 44.6 right here, or whether I'm 1.1 right there. Well, even if I am a 44.6, it's wanting to be the 1.1. So I don't know if I'm actually a 1.1, and these two have very different definitions. If I'm actually a 1.1, or if I'm a 44.6 that just wants to be a 1.1. Because I do kind of actually really resonate with 44.6 also, which is, while we're here, and for other people who have 44.6, let's look it up. 44.6. Okay, so let me just come over here and look at it while I'm reading it. Aloofness. In fact, you can take a picture of it if you want and study it yourself. Boom. So, yeah, I'm looking at aloofness, looking for the ego is past. They have a potential to be deeply depressed. Yes, one might stand. A perfected renewal in which the establishment of a new form inures one to the condemnation of the rejected. I wonder. And the awareness of patterns, which ensures one's instinctive well-being. I definitely resonate with that. That can bolster the ego at the expense of the well-being of others. Possibly. And infusing the collective with something they're not yet aware of. Yes. So, yeah, I don't know. That's a point for me where I'm not positive about it. So, but I do feel that desire to be influential on people and to be able to have that power that's maybe kind of I don't like to say meditation because meditation gives a bad connotation on the thing. And I do want to actually renew this now and make sure we're keeping up with the tracking of this lunar transit while I'm talking. So it's not really about wanting to be manipulative, but it's wanting to help people get what they need, and you have to understand what they need in order to help them get what they need. All right, so where is our now line? There it is, and just a few more minutes. It says there. So since I'm recording basically a stream of consciousness video right now, we can actually clock that perhaps and see if I get any new ideas or if I start speaking any differently from having an awareness of that. So what we're in right now is, of course, as I said before, this, oh no, not this, I'm just pushing on the wrong thing. 1.5. The power of the ego to stay with and endure the creative process. So this is me being inside of my creative process for you right now and feeling like, hey, I can stay with this creative process. So the power of this attraction would be switching to the 1.6 in a few minutes. So let's look at that in preparation. Objectivity, the objective assessment of creative value, the objective clarity of creative expression is untouchable. The shadow, the risk that subjective appraisal of creativity will result in blocking creativity. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll look at that. We'll see how that goes. Until then, to pass the time for this few more minutes that we have here, that's probably looking like it's going to be about, let's say, 5, certainly less than 10 minutes from now. And we're at 8:02. All right. Damn it, I just lost my thing again. So we're looking at experimental ideas, because that's third line, and experimental creative, not creative, but expression, cautious communication is what I like to call that one right there. And we can see I also have an energetic connection right now to the crown chakra where ideas can come through, and of course it's coming through this channel of looking into the future, having skepticism about new ideas, and running a test, which we could even say is responsible for me running this test here to see if on live stream I can actually, not live stream, but on in the moment when I'm recording, witness the transit. Let's update this while we're at this. See where we are time-wise. Oh, it's only 8:03. I'm sure we're not there yet. And what else am I getting here? I'm getting this raw creativity, the whole channel, which right now is actually happening because of the 1 coming in on the moon. And then we still have the 8 down here on Uranus. So that gives the whole world this creativity and the ability to get that creativity out into the world ability right now, as well as a little bit of an emphasis on facts and figures to back things up. And a 10th gate, so this is really strengthening the behavior in the now, the experimental behavior. Here we are, doing the experimental behavior with an attitude of innocence, yes, and longing for some sort of an emotional experience to happen here, yes, and having the ability to sit still and focus on the experiment until it comes. Let's do another now and see where this takes us time-wise. Hello. Okay, 8:05. Let's come down now and see what that transit is doing. This is the way I like to do this. Okay. There we have the transit upcoming. It's kind of hard to see exactly where that line is, but once you expand it way, way out, You can see that that line is right there, just a little bit ahead. And I kind of actually take some information from how this line shows up. It seems like, for me, this line, golly, I don't even know how to explain it, so I guess maybe I shouldn't be explaining it. But see, sometimes like there, you saw it, it disappears, and I wonder if when it's disappearing, it's doing some kind of an internal processing, or if that's one of those places where I'm experiencing a shift in reality streams where the technology glitches. So I watch technological glitches very, very carefully in my world, and it's not always the case that I see something weird happen and it is actually a glitch. It might not be. I'm still learning about what are actual reality stream glitches and what's just, oh, it's just the thing updating itself time-wise. But I don't know, are we really seeing that actually moving? I'm not sure. Because I have noticed that sometimes when I'm looking at the transits, the red line will move. But it doesn't always do that. So I don't know exactly what's going on. But it shouldn't be very much more talking here before we see things happening. If I can stay on this one. Awareness of confusion. Yeah, I'm certainly feeling that right now. Because I don't know what the hell is going on with this transit. Like, I feel it fine. While we're sitting here, we can talk about the Cross of Eden and what that's about. But again, all of my books for that are still in transit. But I do have my journal, which gives us the ability to talk about the Cross of Eden. And the Cross of Eden is, of course, formed by the 11 and the 12. And underneath that, have I written about that energy and what's on the other side of it? I did not. This is something that has fallen by the wayside with my excess of supporting materials on board. I haven't written that. So what do you think? Is that changing? Oh, there it is. Out and in. Looked like it came back in the same place. Doesn't look to me like it's getting closer. But we'll see. The ability to stay with the creative process. That's what I'm in right now. But this should be interesting. I'm interested. Maybe nothing will happen. But that's exactly what an experiment is for. Being willing to look ridiculous, or, as I say in the I Ching, to look like a fool, youthful folly, in order to be able to prove a point. Find out, okay, well, what is happening here? So let's go. And let's see, 8:09. So that's 4 minutes from there. Okay, so let's look at this. We see the red line being right before the 8:10. Now let me update this, which means I'll have to get into here all over again. There, spread it out. Come down to here, and it's back. Shit. Are we over the time? No, we're right before it. So it looks like in another minute we'll be feeling the shift. I was like a little bit worried as I was getting in because I was like, oh, it's close. I'm not actually feeling any difference. So we'll see. But I've never actually sat and watched a transit move like this. I just, in the ones that I felt something kind of weird happening, and then I said, oh, let me look at that. And I noticed that the transit had just passed, but it wasn't like actually seeing the moment of that appearing. So when we get here into an actual, okay, that's as far as it goes, 5-minute increments. We see that, so we're looking at this shift happening like 8, maybe 12 or 13, and it's at 11 right now. Okay, I think I might have seen that red line move a little bit. From like on the colon to right next to it. Let's see. Yeah, it's just past the 1. So the red line is moving. So we are seeing the neutrino stream shifting in real time here. And that 1-6 shift is coming closer and closer. Right there. Up here, it's still saying 8-11. Even though this line is 10. Huh. You know, I am feeling something. I am fucking feeling something right now. It's like a whooshing. It's like a like, huh. Oh. Okay. Wow. Okay. Now I get to process this in real time and try to explain what is going on, what I'm actually feeling as I've consciously gone through the transit on camera for the first time. Wow. Okay. Yeah, all right. So I was explaining it as a feeling of going through my life and feeling like different thoughts coming into my head, or different ideas. Now I'm seeing it's an energy pattern shift. And of course it's an energy pattern shift. That's what I'm talking about. But in the actual feeling of the thing, it feels like a subtle, but now that I'm feeling it, a recognizable feeling. So, yeah. I felt this feeling before many, many times. I just didn't know that this feeling was associated with the feeling of a lunar transit shift. That's the thing. So it's a feeling that's not unknown to me, but it's not a feeling that I had ever in my life associated with a thing. Okay? So, another way to describe it, like, okay, I've got too much shit on my lap there. I feel sometimes like when I'm trying to explain something, there will be a pause in my explanations. And mentally, what's happening in that pause is that my brain is trying to self-organize or figure things out on a quick level. It's like somebody asks me a question and then I go, the answer for that isn't something I've actually thought about, but it's in there. So let me try to process a little my brain and see if I can get that answer to squeeze out in a way that I've never thought of it or said it before, but I know it's in there somewhere and I can get it. It's kind of like that. When you go in and you're trying to think of something that you haven't ever thought about, but some way you know the end result. You know that the thing is there for you to find, and you just need to take a second to let it go, and then you can say it. That feeling of your brain going, that's the feeling that I'm feeling in feeling what the transit shift feels like, at least this lunar transit, which is all I felt. So the only ones that I've ever so far experienced have been lunar transit. So I have not felt a greater transit yet, but okay, it's something to experiment more. Maybe I'll start to actually feel what some of these other transits are like. How fascinating is that? So it's like the feeling of when you say, just give me a second to reorganize my thoughts. And then you take a second to reorganize your thoughts, and then you go, okay, now I can go from this place. That is the feeling that I had when the transit passed. Of just like, okay, let me reorganize here real quick. Gunk, 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 gunk. And now we're in 1/6, which was again, what? The objective assessment of creative value. How cool is that? Before we felt it, I was just like, okay. And now I'm like, oh, I'm ready to objectively assess this shit. Of course I am. I love the way this magical shit works. That is so fucking cool. So now I've come from the feeling of, yeah, I can stick with this creative process. This creative process can work for me, into, but let me evaluate it objectively first. That is so great. Damn, I love myself. Just kind of magically putting myself in the right place at the right time to do the things that are supposed to happen. And I realize that we can live outside of our proper grooves. But just because we can doesn't mean we should. It's like the difference between the definition of living and the definition of existing. Because we all know that we can exist, we can get up and go every day to some place we hate and do things we hate, and then come back home and have a breath, eat, jack off, go to bed, and then do it all over again. But that's existing. That's not what we're here for. We're not here for existing. We're here for something more than existing. We're here for thriving. And then the whole problem becomes, how do you get to thriving from wherever the fuck you begin? Which is usually some flavor or variation of shittiness. I don't like where I am. I don't want to be where I am. I want something better. And of course, once we realize that the better thing is not coming to us through having more ones and zeros, then we begin to actually approach the subject of, okay, well then, how is the better thing coming? Interesting. So I'm living out the definition of this transit by getting ideas and cautiously communicating them. All right. Okay. And the crosses that we have in this time when we're exploring this 11 and 12 energy are the right angle cross of Eden, which is about wanting to return to times where things were better. Yeah, I had this on a cycle of mine, so I can speak to this a little bit. My Saturn return cycle was an Eden cycle. And so when I found that out, I turned my brain to think to the past. And this was when I was, let's see, my things are all fucked up here anyway, so I might as well go and actually look at that cycle while we're talking about it. So yeah, this began in June of 2002 for me and went until around April of 2016. So that's actually quite a long Eden cycle that I went through. And so the feeling that I can recognize and associate with this cycle's influence on my life at that time is that it's about grieving the loss of something that you feel like you had before and kind of wanting to get back to it, but maybe not necessarily being able to get back to it, having to deal with what you have instead. What you have instead of what you want. Yeah. So I was leaving all forms of security behind, my birth family, my birth religion, my husband, all of my friends, all of my coworkers, my house, everything was getting left behind, even my children to an extent. And I was having to blaze a trail into the vast unknown, all the while kind of missing the support and love and community, even if it wasn't real love, that I had come out of, because I was thinking, gee, I'm pretty fucking alone out here, and where I came from was fucked up, but at least they had each other in a whole group of sheep to be fucked up together with. I'm fucking out here. Like, anything could happen to me. A wolf could run across my doorstep. And that reminds me of a nice song that talks about, God, what was that? Keeping On. It was one of our old songs where she says in the song, you're talking to me about I should be afraid of the wolf at the door, and she says, well, the door's double locked and I can't be worried about the wolf right now, or something like that. It was a cute line out of a song. Maybe I'll look that up. But so that's generally the Cross of Eden, and the people who were born there. What I know about that, what little I know about that, is that there's a feeling of wanting to recreate better times on one level, of course. I believe it to be an imbalanced level. There's this "Make America Great Again" kind of feeling. So, it just for reference, I believe I've said this before, but in case you didn't catch it, our dear cheese-headed toddler is Cross of Eden. And so in this whole thing that he started with Making America Great Again, he is actually living out that emotion in him of being Cross of Eden and wanting things to go back to a time when they felt simpler, they felt easier, they weren't so complicated as this time. But honey, you can't ever do that. You can't go back. We're only moving forward here. Sorry. You gotta learn to live with that. Like, get into the world. Out of that place. So, but it will tell me what's on the other side of that. Okay, so we're in 1112, and the unconscious activations for that cross are 6 and 36. So let's look at that real quick on here. So 11 is the gate of ideas, coming up here out of the mind and shooting towards the throat, where the ideas can get out and get into people of talking. Well, the 12 is then coming down past the 56. It actually connects to that 12. And the 12 is cautious communication coming down here, which is going to meet moods before it reaches the emotional stream. And then the other gates that are connecting with that are right here as well. Gate 6, the awareness of interpersonal friction, or like conflict awareness or mediation. All those kinds of things are happening in the 6. And then we have the 36 also right there, which is the gate of crisis or compassion. Every emotional experience is really coming out of some kind of an emotional crisis. We're submitting ourselves to that, having the experience, and then being able to turn around and look at that again from that perspective. So if you wanted to put together keynotes to describe the Cross of Eden, it would have to be a blend of those exact gates. So, to give you a little bit of an idea of what that's about, the Cross of Eden could be said to be being about having compassion in times of crisis and ideas of ways to get out of that need to be cautiously communicated with the world, or cautiously communicating your ideas about how to get through crisis through overcoming interpersonal friction. There's a bunch of ways to say it. There's 2. All right. And then this cross is going to be moving on tomorrow through the end of the right angle of Eden and into the juxtaposition cross of ideas. So these are ideas, people. These are people that you can't shut up for the sake of their ideas. And their ideas aren't necessarily good ideas, but they're churning out so many that it's kind of cool to sit around and put a recording on that sometimes. And sometimes they need help understanding for themselves that yes, ideas are transitory, but when you share them with other people, then they can go out and really enlighten and enliven the world around. Ideas that come to idea people are not necessarily for the idea people. In fact, pretty much they're not for the idea people. In fact, I gave a reading to a little girl over the weekend, and she was a 1-3 projector, perfect little revolutionary supporter, darling. And she had the 11th gate. And I said, oh, you have lots of ideas. And her grandma said, oh, she has tons of ideas. And I said, but they're not really ideas for you. And she was like, oh. I could just see her being just like, that sucks. Like, well, you might have an occasional idea for you, but don't count on it. If you start looking at the whole thing as being these ideas that I'm getting are mostly ideas for other people, that's going to give you a much more safe and solid grounding for how to understand those ideas that come into you, rather than thinking, oh, these are mine, let me grab a hold of them. Because any gift that we're given a gift to share, not to grab a hold of it and double down and build a fortress around it. So note to self on that one. And then the juxtaposition of ideas will on Thursday move to the left angle cross of education. Lovely, lovely. And I do not have what's there, but we can actually get that on the wheel if I switch over to somebody that has wheel view here. Okay. So 35 and 36 and 6. Okay, that's here. And then that goes into 25 and 46. Oh, I see. Interesting. Okay, insights from other places. Focus, focus, focus. So yeah, so this should be going, if I'm reading my things correctly. Oh, no, wait. No. So the 6 will be moving into the 46. And the 36 will be moving into the 25. Yeah. 25 and 46 is what the underlying energy will be for this once it moves into the cross of education. So then the ideas and the cautious communication are going to be moving into love of the body, being in the right place at the right time, and innocence. So innocently sharing ideas and communicating them in the right place at the right time in order to have an impact on the other. There's that. Oh, and I see a note here that we have a nodal shift happening on Friday, so we can look at that. Hey. The nodes are going down to line 1 from 63 and 64. So that's cool. Line 1 on 63 is equanimity. The equanimity, whether development will continue to take place, and 64 is transition, reflection on the sense of conditions. Now 63 is, of course, our, I should stop saying of course. 63 is our gate of skepticism and doubt, and 64 is the awareness of confusion. So we're moving through in our nodal configuration these concepts of skepticism and confusion. And so when it comes to the nodes, to review, what we're talking about is In the analogy, and I have the cheat sheet here for that. Oh no, this is an older version of the cheat sheet before we got that nice car picture on it. All right, well, then not this one. But I've shown it before, the picture of the car, and it's just showing that we are the passengers of the car. We're not the drivers. You're not the driver. You're not in control. This shit is what's controlling you without you even knowing it. And of course, that's why we're wanting to learn about it so that we can see what is actually behind me making decisions rather than me thinking, oh, it's my brain making decisions. It's pretty easy to see once you start looking at this. It's not your brain. And of course, neuroscience is now absolutely supporting that. The decisions are made a significant amount of time before the brain processes it as a decision being made. So no, we're not in control. And what I was getting to here is the nodes in this analogy could be seen as the tinting on the windows where the passenger is looking out. So it's like the lens through which we're seeing the world is kind of like the nodes, yeah? And so our lens for seeing the world is switching from a second line of, okay, we're just naturally doing our thing. We're naturally inhabiting the energy of skepticism and confusion and moving into that first line theme, which is much more about, okay, let's get down to it. Let's examine and understand this skepticism and the confusion because they make me kind of afraid. And there's a direct correlation between the fear that's engendered by the first line and intelligence. So we have developed as a humanity, as a species, intelligence in order to deal with the fears that come to us from our first line themes. So the first line themes here are equanimity. The equanimity, whether development will continue to take place, and that's on the skepticism side. And then on the confusion side, transition, reflection on the sense of conditions. Okay, things seem confusing. Let me think about that. So that's a good thing to be aware of that's going on there. And of course, on this Friday, I did make a note that not just one or two, but 3 Gate 11 activations are possible today. So babies being born on Friday the 19th are going to be having a ton of ideas. So these are going to be some real idea people for us going into the future. I wish I knew a baby being born on Friday, but I don't. But if you do, that's going to be an idea baby. Oh, goodness. Yeah, so interesting things happening there, but I've already showed you the journal, so I think that's enough talking about that. And I loved the fair that I just came back from, and it has made me want to do more fairs, but I'm not totally in control of how fairs get done, so we're waiting to see what happens on looking at what the schedule is, maybe some different kinds of fairs that we can start going to and expanding out, because I'm recognizing that at the fairs I'm finding people who are more likely to be my kind of people, in that they're likely to be more have done more homework, to be a little bit more resilient when it comes to seeing weirdness, because I show up pretty weird. And they're okay with freakiness, and I occasionally show up pretty freaky as well. And they're open to magic in a way that regular people aren't. And so all those things make it a good environment in which I can locate my people. Finding my people in a grocery store is close to impossible, but finding my people in a place that's harboring the people that are on the leading edge of moving forward, that's much more doable and much more likely. And I met a bunch of people, so that was cool. We'll see how many of those people pan out into doing things together. The subject of live streams came up, and I remembered, I had totally forgotten, that I had done a live stream with my friend Sandy the hypnotherapist. I don't know the correct term for it, but she helps people to go through hypnosis to solve whatever problems they're doing, and to be able to learn how to hypnotize themselves, to be able to do an ongoing hypnotism process for themselves. Very fascinating, very useful, very wide open learning, at least in the case of Sandy. She's so bright-eyed and so excited about everything, and so willing to open up and communicate. And of course, she's an informer, a cross of informing. So that's a beautiful, wonderful thing for her to be doing. And she contacted me one night and said, yeah, I'm doing this live stream, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, well, we can go over and check it out. And went over, got into it. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. We ended up just shooting off at the mouth, kind of like I'm doing now, except with 2 people instead of 1, for, God, I don't know, it was a long time, 6 hours, 8 hours. In fact, I think it was more closer to 8 than 6. And we were mostly just goofing around with each other, not really being like, oh, our big audience or anything. But at the fair, Sandy showed up with somebody who had been in the audience, and he was like, oh, that was so cool. That was wonderful. I love that. Love to hear you guys do more of that. And I was like, okay. I have no idea what I said. Don't remember a thing. But cool. If that was helpful for you, awesome. And of course, I have been thinking about starting to do a live stream myself on my own channel, but hadn't really gotten around to it. And manifesting energy coming from Sandy as an initiator was awesome for me. She initiated that. We did a live stream. It was great. She wants to do more. I say great again. Let's get into that. Let's do that. And I also met somebody else who was live streaming about the emotion code and human design, and met up and talked about that. Very, very cool. So this live thing is, I guess, getting to be more of a thing, and I'm okay with it, because really, on some level, what I'm doing is live streaming anyway. It's not like I'm scripting what I'm going to say. Like, I have some general things to talk about, but then probably the most fun part happens when I get off of that script and start telling individual stories or what I've learned overall. And 2 is better than 1 when it comes into that. But, all good things in all good time. It'll happen. It's happening eventually. But expansion is definitely in the works for me, so that who I am, being my natural, bubbly, happy self, can get out into the world, because that's apparently the important thing. I'm learning this. The important thing is not for me to be some super devoted, on time, dedicated individual. It's more for me to show up like the butterfly of happiness. You've achieved synchronicity with my stream. And my stream is super about maintaining my groove. This is a topic I could talk about. In fact, let me write that down, and I will do a video about that in the future. Right now is not the time for that, but I love the idea of making a video to explain, because I think this concept of being in the groove is really, really important, and can help other people figure out how to get to happy as well. So, being in the groove. In the groove. Lovely topic. Or getting in the groove. That's even better. Getting in the groove. Staying in the groove. Yeah. Cool. Maybe even Sandy and I could do something on that, because that's a really good subject, which I'm not sure there's much understanding of about there, but it's super practical. I love that as a 5th line being. Practical ways to help people figure out what the fuck they're supposed to be doing. Get in the groove, man. And I thought about it that way for myself a long, long time before I had other words with which to describe both the means and the process. But now I have those words. Now I can share those words, and other people, maybe it can help you get in it too. But for now, I'm about done gabbing. I don't know how long it's been. Let's see what we got here. Oh, over an hour. It's all good. Yeah. But this did kind of contain the transit report that I was not able to make in the right way before. And maybe that's because I just needed this much of a shift to have the confidence to say, you know what? I'm not going to be chained to you people anymore. Love you, but I'm going to make a transit report whenever the fuck I feel like it. If I feel like doing 2 or 3 a day, that's what you get. I can, always like try to have my personal homework done so that I can say, here's how far I've done, the homework ahead, so I can talk about energies moving ahead. But I need feedback from people. Like if you want a specific kind of a transit report, or ooh, my birthday's coming up, can you do something special for that day? Or ooh, something, ask me if you want something. Oh, cool. But for me, just to try to preemptively record anything I think you guys might want to hear, I think that was my problem in the first place. These transit reports are not for you. I love you, kids, but it's for me. And if what I'm doing for me can be helpful to you, awesome. But me dedicating my life and my world to you, no, that time is over. Sorry, I love you, but this life is for me. This time is for me. It has to be about me. And it can totally be about me leading the way for other people, being sparkly and shining and showing other people how to do that, showing people how I've grown from what I've learned in design. That's all awesome. But I'm not meant to be chained to a wheel anymore. I've done enough of that. I gave at the office. Thank you very much. So I'm done. So y'all take care. Good luck with your wheels and your chains. And I'm still throwing off the shackles of mine, but getting better, getting closer. Definitely figuring out the tips and tricks to that, which I'm totally willing to share. Stick around, kids, or come see me at jollyalchemy.com. Till then, bye-bye.